Steve Chettle joins me ahead of tonight's training session, and before we move on to Saturday's game in the FA Trophy against Peterborough Sports, we'll take a little look back at the previous two games. We've had a lockdown, we didn't play for 4 weeks, and then two trophy games in quick succession, 8 goals scored, none conceded. How did that feel for you?
Well, it couldn't really gone much better, Craig, to be fair, and I think if you look at it and analyse it properly, it probably should have been more goals scored. But always the massive bonus for me is the non-conceded. So yeah, it came around a bit quick, the game against Rushall. Like I said, they came back from their out of season, or what you want to call it, lockdown 2 programme in good shape. Played really well against Rushall, not so great the first half against Felixstowe and Walton. But in the end, two really good results, and we move on, like you say, to Saturday.
Yeah, and during this second lockdown, you've had the players have gone away with their GPS tracking devices that they have to use for their own training sessions, so you can monitor them. How important has that been, so you can see what the players have done?
Well, it's just proof really of what they have done. You know, we've asked them to do something which is specific to what, you know, to their own needs. So different players have different demands. Like a fullback has got a different demand to a centre back, and a midfield different to a centre forward. So they've gone away with their own demands, but it's just proof really that they have been doing the work. We have to obviously put the onus onto them because they have to find their own time to do it, because people have jobs. But they've done really well. We tracked all the information through Marc and the rest of the boys on the sports science team, and they did the work, and it proofs in the pudding when we came back for the games.
And you think that has played a big part in the way that we came back and banked straight into it and scoring 5 goals. And that first game, the players looked really sharp and really fit, didn't they, even after the layoff?
Well, I just think they're hungry to play again, Craig. You know, it was obviously an enforced freeze of the season, whatever you want to call it. It had to be done, and we have to abide by the rules. But you know, they came back, they were chomping at the bit to get back. We had one training session where they were really lively. We had to calm a few down because they hadn't been at the ground for so long. But they just want to play games, and it was a great performance that night.
We'll sort of we'll start building from the back as you do in a game. Didn't concede in these 2 games. How pleased were you? I mean, we always know that you know, if we could win 5-1 and you'd be slightly grumpy because we've conceded one. So to score 8 goals, but to keep the clean sheets twice, that has given a real good building block for the midfielders to push on, and the strikers as well. Do you ever think that sometimes when if we're keeping clean sheets, it sometimes takes a little bit of pressure off the guys up front to score goals? Because they're not having to chase.
Yeah, possibly.
2 or 3.
It was probably a role reversal at the end of last season. We had to keep clean sheets to get some results at times. This year, obviously, got new personnel in. Marcus has come in and started scoring goals, which is fantastic. Rev's chipped in the goals, and we've got the midfield who are scoring goals now this season, and Steph and Gazza have scored as well. But you know, to have a solid base and to know that, you know, if you can keep a clean sheet, you know, you're going to get a result whatever happens. So it's a massive plus for us.
Yeah, and we talk about goals coming from midfield. One player you didn't mention there was Callum. You know, he hadn't scored all of last season. Now he's banged 3 in this season already, and 2 of them could be contenders for goal of the season. What have you got Callum doing different that has got him up there in getting involved in the goals where he hadn't been previously?
Well, we've changed formation a little bit. He's playing a little bit higher up the pitch. He's playing a position where he was used to before he came to Basford. But you know, he could always score goals. I think he took the defensive responsibility on his shoulders a little bit last year with him and Matty trying to keep a solid base and let the other boys go and attack. But you know, at the minute, the shape that we play is very fluid. We've got players at the top of the pitch who can score. You know, he scored goals when he first came in pre-season. I think he scored 2 in the first 2 games, but he didn't score like say last year. But he's worked really hard. He's worked really hard at his game, and he can score goals. And the ones that you say have been good so far.
Yeah, we'll look forward now to Saturday's game against Peterborough Sports. It's another FA Trophy game, FA Trophy 3rd round away from home. We can't take any fans with us for that game. So what are your preparation been then for Saturday's game?
Well, as usual, we've looked at Peterborough Sports through whatever avenue we can. We've got information from other players, other managers. We've got information from the internet. We've done all our work. The boys had the presentation sent today, and we'll just train according to that as well tonight. So our preparations won't really change. It just changes obviously for the opposition each week, but we'll be ready when Saturday comes.
Yeah, and then just briefly we'll touch on Monday night. We've got our under-18s are involved in the FA Youth Cup. It's the second round against Grimsby. Something like that How much does that mean to the club? And to you, you're head of the academy. How much pride do you take in looking at those lads there, especially in the game against Port Vale?
Massive
away
amount.
From home?
Massive amount. This is our pathway to the first team. We recruited really well last year, and I say the first years that we've got who were playing in the youth team this year, I think there's 8 who are regular starters, from the goalkeeper right up to Wade, who's even scored in the first team this year. It's a massive shining light for the football club. From the people who play under 9s right the way through to Kev 16s that we hopefully will get through to the trials next Tuesday as well. To have a team represent Baseford United in second in the FA Youth Cup against a Football League club, and if, fingers crossed, everything goes well, we can attract a Premier League football club in the next round with West Bromwich Albion if we get through. To play a Premier League football club in the FA Youth Cup at home at Greenwich Avenue would be massive. It'd probably be the biggest night of most of the kids' careers so far.
Yeah, and you talk about it being a pathway to the first team. We've seen a couple of the players make a bit of a step up, and they've been on the bench in the first team in the FA Trophy games. Yeah. How important is that to get that sort of early taste of first team football for them?
Well, like I said before, we've got to be careful with them. They have a full-time programme with the education department, so they train 4 times already, so they train on the Tuesday, and we've got to be careful how much they do train. They're playing a Wednesday as well, so while this Youth Cup run's been on, they've not trained with the first team. But their integration to the first team and the training programme will start, hopefully, after West Brom, if we get through West Brom, and we'll have to plan accordingly. But we have to monitor their loading because they're still very, very young men at being 16, and we just have to be very careful with them.
How do you sort of keep a bit of a lid on their enthusiasm?
You can't. They're really, really infectious, and the main leader in there is Wade. This week, all I've heard is Slade, Wizard, Mariah Carey, Christmas carols coming from the dressing room, and they are infectious. They're really lively, but they're a great bunch to work with, and it's a lot of fun.
That's something I've noticed. These players seem to have a real togetherness, don't they? They battle for everything together. They are there for each other all of the time. That must make life a little bit easier for you, knowing that the whole squad there seems to be pulling in the same direction. Whether they're on the bench, whether they're playing, whether they're not involved with the squad, they're all there supporting each other.
Yeah, well, they kind of manage themselves, to be fair. And obviously, Josh and Chet's take them for the work in the mornings with the training, but they just manage themselves. They're always here early. They play head tennis first thing as a game prep. They train really well. Most of them travel back home as well, either by tram, train, or buses. So they're a real close-knit group, and they're, like I say, they're a lot of fun to be around.
That's great. Well, thanks very much for taking the time out tonight to speak to us, Jess. Thank you.
No worries, mate.